On the night of March 11th, 2011, two employees were working together at the Lululemon store in Bethesda, Maryland, and they closed the store together. When the employees left the store, one of the women reportedly left her purse behind in the store by accident and made contact with the second employee to meet her at the store so that she could retrieve her belongings. It was reported that the two women were followed into the store by two masked assailants who were proceeding to physically and sexually assault both women, ultimately resulting in the death of one of them. Police, however, quickly discovered that not everything was as it seemed in their investigation into the murder, and very quickly, the truth came out. Hello, my name is Lance, and welcome to episode 134 of Gone But Never Forgotten, the Lululemon Murder, the murder of Jayna Murray. On the morning of March 12, 2011, store manager Rachel Ertley would arrive at the Lululemon store that she managed in Bethesda, Maryland, located on Bethesda Avenue in the heart of a well-to-do area with specialty and high-priced shops. She arrived at the store around 8 a.m., and immediately upon arriving at the store, she knew that something was horribly wrong. She found that the front door to the shop was not locked and secured, and upon entering the store, she saw that it was in complete disarray. There was clothing scattered all over the store, there were mannequins and tables turned over, and the television inside of the store had been smashed. What was worse was the fact that Rachel could hear moaning coming from the back of the store. Without hesitation, believing that she'd walked into a crime scene, Rachel left the store, walking out into the street, and she called police. Next door to the Lululemon store, there was an Apple store, and it was release day for the Apple iPad 2, and as such, there was a long lineup of people. While she was on the phone, one man in line overheard the conversation, and when Rachel got off the phone, she turned to the man and asked him if he had seen anyone go into or come out of the store in the time that he'd been standing in line. The man, whose name was Ryan Haw, said that he had not, but asked if she wanted him to go into the store to investigate. The two would walk into the store together, and Ryan called out to see if anyone would answer. As Ryan made his way through the store, with Rachel staying at the front, he noticed that there were bloodstains scattered throughout the store. At the base of a purple door at the back, he noticed that there was blood pooling, and he gently pushed the door open, and it met resistance. When he looked, he saw that it had stopped because it had hit a body. Ryan saw a body of a woman lying face down in blood, and when he reached down, he realized that there was no movement, and he yelled out that there was someone there, and it appeared that she was dead. Ryan quickly turned to make his way back to the front of the store, and he passed two washrooms. Both doors were open, and he saw the legs of a second person. This woman was bound at the ankles and the hands, but he could tell that she was still alive. Ryan says that he asked the woman if she was alive, and she moaned very quietly in response. At this point, Rachel rushed back outside and called the police for the second time, and within seconds, the first officer arrived on the scene and told the lineup at the Apple store to back up, and she withdrew her gun and entered the store. Police found what Ryan had believed to be correct. At the back of the store, deceased, was 30-year-old Jayna Murray, who had been brutally beaten to death. Jayna was a sales leader at the store, and she was beaten so badly that investigators could not even count the wounds that she had all over her body. In the washroom, bound with zip ties, was 28-year-old Brittany Norwood, who was a sales assistant at the store. She had cuts to her face, chest, arms, legs, and abdomen. Brittany was found to still be breathing, but she was very clearly traumatized by whatever had happened in that store. Brittany was loaded onto a stretcher and taken to Suburban Hospital in Bethesda. In the hospital, seemingly because of trauma, Brittany would not open her eyes at all to talk to anyone, and when anyone approached her, she visibly flinched. The pants of both women had also been ripped open in the crotch, and that led investigators to believe that both Jayna and Brittany had also been sexually assaulted as a part of whatever crime had taken place. Detective Deanna Mackey would be the first to speak with Brittany in hospital later that day. Deanna was with the Montgomery County Police Department. Brittany told the detective that she and Jayna had returned to the store and had been followed in by two men who were wearing masks and gloves. She then would describe everything that she could remember to Detective Mackey in great detail. Brittany said that when the two men followed them into the store, one man had attacked Jayna and one man had attacked her. She said that the man that had attacked her was of medium build and approximately 5'5" tall. She said that he was dressed in all black, and she said that he also had on gloves and a ski mask. Brittany said that based on his voice, she assumed that he was in his mid-20s and he was Caucasian. She also said that Jayna's attacker had also been dressed in all black, including gloves and a ski mask, and that he had been approximately 6 feet tall. She also said that she assumed that the man was also Caucasian. Brittany would also tell the detective that she had been sexually assaulted with a clothes hanger. As you can imagine, the community was in shock that such a brutal and seemingly unprovoked crime would take place in that neighborhood that almost never had any problems. Investigators believed at this point that this was a robbery that had taken a dark and devastating turn that wound up leading to the murder of Jayna. Rewards were put together for any information that led to the arrest of the two men who were responsible for the crimes. $125,000 was put up as a reward by Lululemon. $10,000 was put up by Federal Realty in Bethesda. And an additional $1,000 reward was put up by Crime Stoppers. A follow-up interview was scheduled with Brittany when she returned home on March 14th, and two detectives attended her home in hopes that Brittany had remembered some more details that could help with the investigation. The detectives again asked for Brittany to recount everything that she could remember from the night of March 11th to the early hours of March 12th. Brittany told the officers at this point that she believed that the attackers knew where she lived because they had seen mail that she had in her handbag that had her home address on it. She said that this was causing her to live in a lot of fear, and she also said that the attackers had told her that they would let her live because she was fun to have sex with. During this second interview, investigators were already starting to see minor discrepancies popping up in Brittany's stories, and this was the beginning of when investigators started to wonder if Brittany actually wasn't a victim at all, but rather that she was a culprit and the person behind Jayna's murder. Her recollection and her story changing, combined with some of the things that they were finding within their investigation, really started to turn the tables in this case. On the 16th of March, Brittany was called into the police station to provide fingerprints and also to provide a hair sample. Brittany was told that these things were being done so that her hair samples and her fingerprints could be eliminated from what was at the scene of the crime, so that investigators could further narrow down to the prints and hair that may have been left behind by the attackers. Brittany would again be interviewed, and one of the questions that investigators asked her was what type of car that Jayna drove. When she was asked that question, Brittany said that she was unaware of what kind of car Jayna drove. However, the next morning on March 17th, Brittany's brother and sister called the police and said that Brittany had been withholding facts because she was afraid that the suspects would come back, find her, and harm her for cooperating with the police. They in fact said that she did know what kind of vehicle Jayna drove and had in fact been inside of Jayna's car on the night of the attack. Apparently, the attackers had told her to move Jayna's vehicle to another location further from the store so it wouldn't alert people to anything suspicious. On March 18th, it was determined that neither Jayna nor Brittany had in fact been sexually assaulted as a part of the crime, and forensic evidence was starting to starkly and solely point towards Brittany as the person who had killed Jayna and then made it appear as though she had been a victim. On that date, the police again scheduled an interview with Jayna to see what other information she could give them, as well as to see how much her story would change. On that date, Brittany tried to explain to the investigators the ins and the outs of her being inside of Jayna's car. Brittany said that before the attackers had sexually assaulted her, which officers already knew was a lie, they had told her to drive Jayna's car and park it elsewhere, and they had told her that if she so much as spoke to a person or took more than 10 minutes to return to the store, they would kill her. Brittany even told the investigators that she had passed a police car on her drive, but that she was so frightened that she didn't even try to flag the officer down, and she didn't run because she knew that the attackers knew where she lived. After that interview, police realized that Brittany was not going to stray from her story, even though there were so many inaccuracies in what she was telling them. It appeared to them that Brittany had convinced herself that her story was foolproof and that there was no chance of her getting caught. Detectives had done their research, though, and they had uncovered the true story that couldn't have been further from the web of lies that Brittany had spun, and frankly, she hadn't done that great of a job covering her trail. What really happened was this. As Jayna and Brittany had been locking up the store and preparing to leave for the night, they had both done a bag check on one another, which was store policy for Lululemon and for many other retail outlets. As a part of that bag search, Jayna had found that Brittany had a pair of leggings in her bag that she deemed were stolen goods from the store. The two then left the store at approximately 9:45 p.m., and Jayna called the store manager immediately to make her aware of the apparent theft, and the manager said that she would deal with it in the morning. Around that same time, Jayna had got in touch with another employee from the store and said that she had accidentally left her purse inside the store and said that she needed Jayna's number so that she could reach her and get her to meet her back at the store so she could retrieve it. The other employee gave Brittany Jayna's number, and the two agreed to meet back at the store. Alarm logs would show that they returned to the store around 10:05 p.m. At 10:30 p.m., employees of the attached Apple store overheard a commotion, including yelling, shouting, and bangs, and one of the employees would even say, and security footage would show, that the Apple employees had listened at the wall for a time, overhearing a female voice saying, "Talk to me. Don't do this. Talk to me. What's going on?" And then a softer, weaker voice later saying, "God help me. Please help me." The employees of the Apple Store said that they did not hear any male voices at all. So, let me interject for a moment here. I understand that hearing shouting and maybe even banging from a store adjacent may not be cause for alarm all the time. Things certainly happen. However, when you hear the words that these employees said that they heard, how on earth do you not inspect or call the police? These seem like some pretty serious words that were being spoken. The manager of the Apple Store would later say that they believed that there was just some drama going on next door. There certainly was, and for the rest of these employees' lives, they will know that they perhaps could have saved a woman's life. Forensic investigations also established that there were only 2 sets of bloody footprints left in the store. One set of those footprints belonged to Brittany's shoes that she was wearing, and the second set belonged to a size 14 pair of boots that belonged to the store. Investigators believed that Brittany had put the boots on and tracked the blood using them to try and cover up the fact that she was the only other person that was inside of the store. The boot prints also ended before either exit, showing that whoever had tracked the blood had never left the store. Also of note to investigators were the injuries and the lack of sexual assault that Brittany had claimed. Brittany had only suffered minor scratches and wounds on her body, and investigators deemed that all of her injuries could have been self-inflicted. Brittany's hands and feet were also bound in a way that they deemed could have also been done to herself. Jayna, on the other hand, had been killed in what was an absolutely brutal attack that investigators believed could have gone on for at least 20 minutes. Jayna had sustained at least 331 wounds to her body, including 107 defensive wounds, meaning, of course, that she tried in vain to fight back and fight for her life. The trail of blood from Jayna's attack showed that she had even tried to make an escape out the back door of the store. Investigators deemed that Jayna had most likely been alive for every single blow that was taken to her body, including what was believed to be the death blow, a stab wound to the back of her neck that severed her spinal cord. Investigators also deemed that at least 6 different murder weapons were used in the attack, including a hammer, a knife, and a wrench, all of which they believed were retrieved from a toolbox that was located in the store. Investigators also believed that Brittany had gone to Jayna's car only after she had murdered Jayna, and they believed that she then spent up to 90 minutes inside the vehicle planning out how she was going to cover her tracks and how she was going to remove herself as a suspect in the brutal attack and murder of Jayna. It's also very clear that she wanted to move the car away so that she had time to cover her tracks without someone becoming suspicious that Jayna's car was out front. Brittany's attempt had failed, and at the end of that interview on March 18th, she was arrested, and she was charged with first-degree murder in the death of Jayna. When word got out that Brittany had been arrested for the murder of Jayna, friends and family were shocked as they could not believe that Brittany was capable of committing such heinous crimes. Brittany did not have a previous criminal record, although people that knew her did say that she had a long history of committing petty theft. Brittany had been a member of the championship-winning Washington State soccer team, the FC Wolves, and her coach remembers her as a sweet and great kid who could run like the wind. Brittany had also been attending Stony Brook University, where she was studying sociology and playing soccer. This was incredibly out of character for her, according to everyone, and seemingly all over being caught stealing a pair of leggings. On March 21st, Brittany would have her first court appearance, and she remained expressionless throughout. The prosecution attorney John McCarthy said that Brittany's cunning behavior and her ability to make up stories and lies was almost unmatched by any other criminal that he had ever seen in his career. Her case went to trial in October of 2011, and the defense did not deny that Brittany had killed Jayna, instead tasking the jury with deciding whether Jayna's murder was premeditated, and thus a first-degree murder conviction, or not premeditated, and thus a second-degree murder conviction. A first-degree murder conviction, of course, would carry a life sentence with perhaps no chance at parole, while a second-degree conviction would carry a significantly lesser sentence. The prosecution believed that there was plenty of evidence that showed that Brittany's murder of Jayna was, in fact, premeditated, not the least of which was the fact that Brittany had thought of a plan to lure Jayna back to the store after hours and also had hatched a plan to try and cover everything up, passing the blame onto two fictitious males. The defense argued that Brittany had snapped because of an argument over the leggings and that she had lost control and attacked and killed Jayna, but that it was a result of the argument and not a result of premeditation that led to the murder. After everything was presented in court, the jury would take a little over 1 hour to come back from deliberations, and they announced that they had found Brittany guilty of first-degree murder for the murder of Jayna Murray. As the verdict was read into court, Brittany remained stoic and emotionless, as she did for most of the trial. On January 27th of 2012, Brittany Norwood was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, and the judge said that Brittany's crime and subsequent lies represented the absolute worst of human behavior. The judge also stated that there is no hope for rehabilitation in a person like Brittany. He used the words cold-blooded, brutal, calculated, deliberate, devious, and malicious to describe both Brittany and the crime that she had committed. Brittany would seemingly finally show emotion when she apologized in court to her family and to Jayna's family for her actions. As of 2015, I'm happy to announce that Brittany has exhausted all of her appeal options, and she is in prison at the Maryland Correctional Institution for Women, and she will remain in prison for the rest of her life. Jayna's family has also started the Jayna Troxell Murray Foundation, which is a foundation that works towards helping others to enjoy the things that Jayna enjoyed in life. St. Louis University in Madrid, also where Jayna had studied, has a Jayna Troxell Murray Foundation scholarship that provides a one-semester tuition scholarship to a select number of U.S. freshmen who are entering their full semester and have been accepted at the Madrid campus. Jayna Murray was born on November 22nd of 1980 in Wichita, Kansas, to her parents David and Phyllis Murray. Jayna also is survived by two brothers. Jayna attended St. Louis University in Madrid, Spain, for 2 years and graduated from George Washington University in Washington, D.C. with a Bachelor of Science degree. She was also nearing completion of her Masters of Communication and Masters of Business Administration degrees from Johns Hopkins University, also in Washington, D.C. Jayna loved animals. She loved to dance, and she loved to travel. Jayna loved life and lived on the edge, and always ensured that she lived her life to the absolute fullest. She's remembered by those that knew her as fun-loving and outgoing. She was a woman who also had a passion and a love for volunteering and helping others. In the spirit of Jayna, I want to share Matthew chapter 6, verse 34 with you today. As a Christian, it's a verse that reminds us not to worry about tomorrow, but I believe, as with the spirit of Jayna, that it should remind us to do right and get the most out of every day that we have here on this earth. It says, "So don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. Today's trouble is enough for today." Everyone that spoke about Jayna said that she had a zest for life, and I pray that each and every one of you goners that are listening will also have the same. Tomorrow and its stresses are one thing, but tomorrow is never promised. Enjoy the life that you have today. As difficult as it is to hear about a young woman like Jayna who lost her life way too early, it's helpful on some level to know that she lived for every day and she left her imprint on the world in her short 30 years. I hope that we can all be that lucky. Just a little bit of house cleaning to end the episode. I want to mention that starting last week, I am going to be writing and recording 1 or 2 episodes every month that will be Patreon exclusive, meaning that you can only listen to them if you subscribe to the Patreon page. There are many levels you can support the podcast and me at, starting as low as $1.50 every month. You can listen to those episodes, you can receive stickers, and give additional input on the show depending on the level that you support the podcast at, and every bit helps and goes to making this thing better. Also, if you haven't, please join me over on social media. I regularly post on X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and love getting messages from you and going back and forth about theories and cases. In a world where it seems like human communication is lacking, that's one of my favorite parts about doing this show, so don't ever hesitate to share what you agree or disagree with. With that all out of the way, there's nothing more for me to do than say thank you. Thank you for listening, and thank you for supporting the show in every way that you do. I hope the next week treats you well, and I hope that you continue to be better in the world around you. Take care, and I'll see you back here next week for another episode of Gone But Never Forgotten.